Well, hello folks. Welcome back to Tech Talk Education. We're going to continue on down the road of building a pfSense network architecture in this. And in this movie, we're going to go ahead and install Windows Server 2022 and Windows 10. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is take a look at this network drawing. You can see that I've crossed out the old addresses. In the last movie, what we did was we went and we had all these at Class C, reserved 192.168.1.1, 2.1, and 3.1. What we did was we changed to reserve Class A for the production network, which is called LAN. And then for the DMZ, we changed to Class B reserved, 172.16.1.1. And then for the honeypot zone, we changed to 192.168.2.1. All of these are 255, 255, 255.0 subnet mask, which is to say /24 CIDR. So that's what we're doing, and we're going to install Windows Server and Windows 10 in this environment right now. Additionally, we went through this worksheet here, and I just wanted to show you my thinking on going with Class A, B, and C reserved. Normally, Class A subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. Class B is 255.255.0.0. However, if we use a /24 mask on all three of these, all we're really doing is saying, look, these networks are different, and we're using pfSense to be able to route between them. And I wanted to show you that indeed we do have everything running. Our WAN is 10.0.0.30, and then my LAN is 10.0.1.1, and my DMZ is 172.16.1.1, and my honeypot is 192.168.2.1. So that's where we stand right now. And then, of course, in Kali Linux, what we did is we configured a static IP address. Let me show that to you. And if I come out here and I do an IP ADDR, Control-Shift++++, and I do an IPA, it's going to show me now that I have on, that's loop back here, and then here's ETH0, and I have a 10.0.1.2/24 address. And if I ping my pfSense router, if I ping PING 10.0.1.1, let's see if we get a response, and we do, so that's all good. And then the way that I made a static was I clicked the dragon here, and I went over to settings, and I went to network properties, wherever that's at. Here it is, it's advanced network configuration. I edited the wired configuration, clicked the gear icon to edit it, and then we just went ahead and added IP4 static to this. So it's got a static address. Generally speaking, workstations don't necessarily need a static address, but I like them because they are useful for things like servers, IoT devices, printers, things like that that might not pick up an IP address from DHCP. Now you can see that I've done a Google for Windows downloads, and I click the link here, and we can get out the downloads that we need. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to download Windows 10. I have already downloaded Windows Server 2022. I do not need to re-download that again, but you can get that same thing from this site. And so I'm going to go ahead and click Learn More, and I'm going to download it now. So this is the Windows 10 installation media, and what we're looking for here would be, this is an exe file. So I'm going to go ahead and download this now, save it to my downloads folder. It's called Media Creation Tool 22H2. They've changed their version numbers on Windows now. I'm going to save, and we'll go ahead and install that. I'll click this, select Yes to UAC, and then bring the installer over here. Okay, getting a few things ready. Okay, I've got a EULA sitting here. All I'm going to do is just click Accept to get through that EULA. We're going to get a few more things ready here. And now instead of upgrading the PC, I'm running Windows 11, so I wouldn't do that. I'm going to create installation media, which is going to be USB, DVD, or ISO file for another PC. Click Next. The edition is going to be English United States, Windows 10, 64-bit. Click Next. I'm going to create an ISO file. Click Next. I'm going to put the file here in my D drive, and I'm going to put it under Software, which is where I keep most things. And I think I've got a Windows 11 download, but I'm going to create a Windows 10 folder, like so, and put it in the Windows 10 folder. It's called Windows ISO, and it's just getting things ready. Okay, well that took a minute to finish. In fact, that was several minutes, but we're done. So I'm going to finish here. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start Oracle VirtualBox. All right, so here we are. Now, the preferred method for me is an Oracle VirtualBox appliance, an OVA, but very few manufacturers actually have an OVA for you to download. Those are the easiest because you just click File, Import Appliance. That makes it super easy. But we can do, if we have an ISO, that means we're going to go through a full install, and so we can do that. It's not going to be hard. So I'm going to click New, and I'm going to type in Windows 10. I'm going to put it in my VirtualBox VMs folder. It's in my D drive. VirtualBox VMs. I'm going to create a brand new folder here called Windows 10, and I'm going to select this as my folder. It says that it's Windows 10, 64-bit, so it knows all about that already. Here's where I get the ISO, so I'm going to drop this down, go to Other, go out to my Software folder, Windows 10, grab the ISO file. ISOs are fine. It just means that you have to do the entire installation. I can check Skip Unattended Installation. The concept here is you have a file called unattend, and it has all of the questions answered already so that you don't have to sit there and answer each one of the questions. However, when we're going through an ISO like this, I don't really need an unattend XML file. I can just do without it and go through the questions here. So I'll click Next. I'm going to go ahead and give this 4 gig of RAM. Right there, 4096. And I'll give it 2 CPUs. Click Next. The disk size is 50. That may be okay, but I think because it's Windows, I'm going to give it 100 gig. I don't think I need that much. I'm not going to really use it, but I'm going to give it to it just in case, and click Finish. Now you know that we have to go to the settings. Now let me show you the drawing here real quickly. Our drawing says that these are going to be on the production network at 10.0.1.1. So if I look at pfSense over here, let me grab that real quickly here. pfSense says that that is the LAN network 10.0.1.1. So this is EM1. Okay, so we're going to go to Settings. I'm going to do several things here. I'm going to go to Advanced, and I'm going to enable bidirectional in both of these. I don't really need a description or disk encryption. Description would be handy if you were creating your own appliance to give to someone else. I'm going to go to System, disable floppy, move hard disk up to the top, and optical up next. I can even move network up so the boot order is a little better. Display, I don't really need to do anything with display. Storage is going to be fine. Audio, I'm going to leave turned on. Network, I'm going to put this on IntNet, which is to say EM1. That is one that's 10.0.1.1. So I'm going to leave it on IntNet because that is my main production network. Serial ports are, let's see, I don't have any serial ports. USB set to USB 3. Everything's cool. And so now I'm good to go. I can click Start, and we'll go through the Windows 10 installation. I'll probably pause on a little bit of this because I'm sure a lot of you have been through Windows 10 install before, but we'll go through at least a little bit of it so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to bring this window up a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see. English United States, that's very good. Click Next. Install now. Setup is starting. It takes a minute for this to come up and examine all the files and everything. I don't have a product key, so I'm going to do without that for now. Now, here is where you get to answer some questions. What do I want? Do I want Windows 10 Education or Education and Windows 10 Pro? It doesn't really matter, but in this case, I think I'm going to go with Windows 10 Education here, just because I use that in our school and I like it a great deal. And I'm going to click Next. You could go with Windows 10 Pro. You're just going to blow this virtual machine away later, unless you want to purchase a license for it. So it doesn't really matter. You could evaluate Pro. That would be fine. Maybe I'll leave it at Pro. Click Next. I'm going to accept the EULA. Click Next. I'm going to do a custom, and you really don't need to do anything. All of these buttons might be misleading to you, but really the reality is I don't need to create a new partition, anything like that. I just click Next. It'll format the partition for me, and everything will be groovy. I'm going to put you on hold while this is getting the files ready for installation. Okay, so we're all done, and now we're ready to restart. I'm just going to click Restart Now to restart the machine, and we'll wait for it to come back up here. Okay, we're finally here. This took a good long 10 or 15 minutes for it to finally come up and get ready. We're at the wizard. We're going to go ahead and finish the setup. So we say, yes, we're in the United States. If you're not in the United States, you probably wouldn't say yes. I am in the US. That's awesome. I'm going to skip this. I don't want to add a second keyboard layout. I'm going to connect to a network. In this case, I'm going to select I don't have internet just right now. And let's see, do I need these? I'm going to continue with limited setup. And then for the name, I'm just going to put in my name here. I'll put in Bill. Click Next. And then I'll put in my happy password. It's going to ask me to recreate the password. Super memorable. Next. And then I'm going to fill in some security questions. Okay, so we're still looking at the spinning dots. I'm going to turn all this stuff off for now because I don't really care about it since we're evaluating Windows 10. And it's just going to get in the way of the speed of the VM. I'm going to accept. And it says like Cortana. No, I don't care about Cortana. And here we go. Windows 10 is coming up. Now what we have to do is we have to see if we can get an IP address off of our pfSense router. So that's going to be the next trick. Okay, here we are. It wants to talk to me about Edge. I don't care about that. I'm going to select maybe later. And we don't have any internet right now. I've got the globe here. I'm going to go to Network and Internet settings and see what I've got. It says that I'm not connected here. So what I want to do is check my settings for my pfSense router as well as for here. I should be able to get DHCP. So I'm going to go to Ethernet, Adapter Options. I'm going to right-click the Ethernet adapter and go to Properties. I'm going to select TCP/IP version 4. It says I should be getting something automatically, and I'm going to undo TCP/IP version 6 right now. Now, one of the things that I can try to do is I can go grab a command prompt. So I type in CMD and hit Enter. And I'm going to do an ipconfig /release. And you can see here I've got a 169.254.202.123. So I have trouble in Paradise here. I've got to do some research on whether I have the pfSense router configured correctly or not. Okay, I had the wrong range keyed in for my LAN subnet. So that might have been the problem. I think what I'll do is I'll restart this machine. So I'll shut down. What I'm doing is I right-click the Start button, side out, restart, and let's see if we can pick up a DHCP address this time. Okay, so now I have it running. Let me quickly show you what I did wrong here. So I'm in Cali, and I'm in the pfSense area here, and I went into Services DHCP Server. And I looked at LAN here. Well, I had 192.168.whatever filled in here and in here. And of course that wouldn't work because I was using the 10.0 address range, and that's why it was failing. So now if I minimize this, I can come back here and float that back in. And I look down here and I see that I do have a connection. I can grab a command prompt. So I type in CMD. And hit Enter. And I don't really care about that right now. And I'm going to ping the router. Ping 10.0.1.1. Let's see if we get a response back from it. Sure enough, very good. That all looks good. Okay, let's move on and let's get Windows Server done. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go out to VirtualBox. I'm going to add a new item, and I'm going to call it Windows Server 2022. And then I'm going to go out and put it in my VMs. My VMs all live in the D drive. VirtualBox VMs. I have a Windows Server 2022 here. I'm going to do this one with GUI. It's empty right now. I just made the folder Server 2022 with GUI. You can install Windows Server without the GUI. I forget what mode they call it, but I have a previous movie where I did that. But in this case, we're going to install it with the movie. So I'll select this folder. I'm going to go out and grab the ISO image. So I go to Other, and I'm going to go to Software, Windows Server 2022, and grab this evaluation software. And it should show up as type Windows Server, Windows. It has to read that, so let me, just a minute. Oh, the note down here says detected OS type. This can be installed unattendedly. And then I'm going to skip unattended install and go to next. I'm going to give this 4 gig of RAM. And I'm going to give it 2 CPUs as well. And in normal cases, if this was an actual server that you were installing, you would give it a lot more than that. I'll give it 100 gig as well. Click Next, Finish. And now this guy we're going to put on Internet 2 as well. So General, we go over to Advanced, we enable bidirectional. System, we're going to disable floppy, move hard disk up, move optical up, move network up. Under display, we're going to leave it alone. Storage looks good. Audio, we're going to leave connected. Network goes to IntNet, so this is all on the LAN network, which is IntNet. We'll, in another movie, deal with servers on a different, or workstations on a different network. Click OK. All right, now we're going to start this thing, and it's an ISO, so it's going to look very much like Windows 10 looked, in the sense that you're going to run through a Windows installation. I'll minimize this, and I will bring this up a little bit. This looks very similar to Windows 10, but this is Windows Server. I've got the box here. English, this is fine. Click Next. Install now. That all looks the same as Windows 10. But in this case, this is Windows Server 2022. Now, this is the modes I'm talking about. So it says Desktop Experience. I'm going to double-click that to show that. If it doesn't say Desktop Experience, we're putting it into what is called Core mode, which means that we're not going to have a GUI. Everything's done from a little menu that Microsoft created, a little DOS menu, or from PowerShell. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and do Desktop Experience. We don't need Data Center. We can go with the standard solution. Click Next. These are evaluation softwares. We don't have a license key for these anyway. Click Next. Click Install, and click Next. I go through the same thing. I'm going to put you on hold while this is installing the files. Okay, so we've all installed. We're at the screen that we might have seen before. However, this is a Server 22 screen. So we just type in the password for administrator and click Finish. And there we are. Now, the only thing we have to do on this is we definitely want to assign a static IP address to this computer rather than let it get a DHCP address. Now you see it says press Control Alt and Delete to unlock. We have to go to Input, Keyboard, Insert Control Alt Delete to unlock this box. We type in our password. And we're in. And what we're going to see is Windows Server Manager come up and start running for us. And the very first order of business will be that we want to key in a static IP address for this particular machine. It's going to look very similar to the way that it looks in Windows 10, maybe slightly different. Windows Server Manager will show you that it has a DHCP address, which is not good for servers. We want to have a static address. We have a static address on the Kali machine, because I didn't have the right network range keyed in, or I would have left it as a static. And then we have the Windows 10 box doing a DHCP address. So here we go. It's coming up now. We'll see Windows Server tool come up here in just a minute, Server Admin tool. It's going to prompt you and say, I'm going to say, well, yes, it's discoverable. There it is, Server Manager. And it will come up and say, hey, there's a new version of this. Would you like to try the new version? I haven't done that. I'll just keep it this way. See, here it is. You can get more info at aka.ms Windows Admin Center. I'm not going to do this right now. And then I'm going to kill this window here. And you'll see that if I go to local server, it'll give me information on the computer. Now, it takes, you see here where it says IPv4 address assigned by DHCP. If I click that, it should take me to the Ethernet settings. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click this, go to Properties. I'm going to turn off V6, double click V4. I'm going to use the following address. So I'm going to give it 10.0.1.3. Mask is 255.255.255.0. Gateway is 10.0.1.1. And DNS is 10.0.1.1. And click OK. Click OK. I'm going to close this. I'm going to minimize Server Manager. And I'm going to grab a command prompt to make sure that we can see the pfSense box. I'm going to ping 10.0.1.1. Make sure we can hit it. Bada bing, bada boom. We've got Windows Server running on a static. Kali is running on a static. And Windows 10 is running on a DHCP. And they are all on the LAN network. Next time we get together, what we're going to do is we're going to install Ubuntu Server. We're going to put LAMP on it, which stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. We're going to put it on a different network. We're going to put it in the DMZ. So thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next time. Have a great day.